Welcome to Makadapityaj podcast, where we are all about never giving up and mastering sales skills. In our first episode, we talked about something super important, making the person you are selling the central character of your story. We shared stories showing how being genuinely interested in your customer can lead to big success in sales. It's all about focusing on them, not on your product. Like instead of pushing sales, offer helpful information and build relationships. Now, in today's episode, we will further build on the same concept. See, whenever I have discussed this concept of selling without selling or building relationships and keeping customers in the center of all sales discussions, I see all my friends nodding their heads, agreeing to every single syllable of mine. And then once I finish, I have also heard them saying, it sounds good in theory, but in practice, it's not so easy. They say that the biggest challenge is talking to someone you don't know much about. If you ask too many questions, you might annoy them. But if you don't ask anything, trying to sell something can feel pushy. I can understand where my friends are coming from. Let me try to explain this with a scenario. Imagine you are at a party and meet someone new. If you start bombarding them with questions about what they do and what they need, they might feel overwhelmed. But if you don't show any interest in them, they might not want to talk to you at all. Now, let's add another layer of complexity to this. Picture yourself as a young sales professional with, let's say, some 2 to 6 years of experience, while on the other side, you're dealing with a seasoned professional, 15-20 years of experience in their field. Now, getting these experienced professionals who usually have pretty busy schedules and who can quickly decide if a conversation is worthwhile, getting these people to engage in discussion is very, very challenging. So, you are in a situation where your prospect is much more experienced and you only have 20 to 30 minutes to convince them to have another round of chat. Now, we are faced with a prospect whose problems may be unknown or only vaguely understood, and who likely has more experience in their field. This is different from the situations like meeting your girlfriend or being a salesperson in a clothing store, which we talked about earlier in episode 1. I see you all nodding in agreement, agreeing with me. But now let me play devil's advocate for the next 3 to 4 minutes. See, when you go on a date, do you do a bit of research beforehand? Do you scroll through your date's social media profile to get an idea of their likes and dislikes? Have you ever tried to gather information from mutual friends? Is it tough to find out what are their hobbies and interests? What are their favorite activities or places to hang out? Do they have any special talents or skills? Let's say, have they traveled anywhere interesting recently? See, now I see you all nodding again, agreeing that it is not too tough to get some understanding before you actually go on a date. So it is simple. Doing beforehand research is the first step if you want to make your prospect the central character of your discussion. Every industry has a term for this research work. Some call it know your customer, others call it background research, and then there are others who say that it's all about digging the details. Know your customer before you meet them for the first time is extremely, extremely important. Let's take a pause here and summarize whatever we have discussed till now. See, in episode 1, we agreed that instead of talking about your features and your benefits and your product, try to understand what prospects' needs are. Your prospect is the central character, not your product. In the beginning of episode 2, some of my friends told me that it's easier said than done. They said that when you're meeting your prospect for the first time and you do not have much information about who they are, Asking too many questions might backfire. I agreed. And then we all agreed that we must do significant amount of background research before we enter our first discussion. Super. Now let's talk about what are the key elements of this know your customer. What I would suggest is that you must divide your research into two segments. Segment 1, research on the company, and segment 2, research about your prospect. When it comes to company, try and get information like company's market share compared to its competitors, customer satisfaction ratings or reviews on multiple channels, common pain points or challenges faced by companies in the sector, potential disruptors or threats to the industry, what are the emerging technologies and trends that are affecting this particular industry. And then, when it comes to the prospect, try and gather information about this person's previous career trajectory, notable achievements, social media profile and activities, alma mater, professional platforms and connections, articles, blogs, posts, comments that they have authored, if there are any publications, presentations, or thought leadership, the person's personal interest, or let's say online reviews or feedback related to their work. Think about it. If you have all of this information with you, do you still think that when you meet them for the first time, you will have any issue in striking a conversation with them which is meaningful?